All right. We're good now. It's
All
nice to
right.
finally get to see you face to face at least.
You too. I
Thank you.
really appreciate you covering DJ's case on your podcast.
Yeah. I did want to first address, I know I got something wrong in the episode I did on his case. Was the like the intraoral shotgun wound versus something else, I believe.
Yeah, the medical examiner said that it was intraoral, which it actually was because it went through his oral cavity.
Okay.
But her argument is that the gun was inside his mouth with the mouth closed. And the reason she says that is because anytime somebody shoots themselves in the mouth, the gases expand and they blow out the cheeks. And DJ's left cheek was blowed out, but it wasn't from the gases expanding. It's because that's where he was actually shot at.
Okay.
So you didn't actually get that wrong because that's what the medical examiner stated.
Yeah.
But the medical examiner stated a lot of things that were inaccurate, and she
Mm-hmm.
also didn't document a lot of things that should have been documented.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that up quick.
Well, I mean, there's little inconsistencies with a lot of the podcasts that's been covered, on DJ, and
Yeah.
I don't really, it doesn't bother me because DJ's story's been covered so many times. I can't correct every in whatever. I can't correct all of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
There's
I
just
get
too
that.
many. So, but yeah, you did a great job on it. I was really happy with it.
Well, thank you. You gave a lot of good, I guess, sources for me to look from, so that was nice because we don't get that with a lot of cases.
We have everything. I
Yeah.
haven't. I mean, nobody has gotten everything,
Mm-hmm.
but what you got is what everybody else has gotten. It's what we can release, what we have released. We can't release everything because we don't want it to interfere with a case later on down the line in
Yeah.
court. But people can already see the truth behind it
Yeah.
just by what we have released, and if they've seen everything that we have, they would just be mind blown.
Yeah. I mean, I was with the parts you shared with us.
Right?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it really is. Was there any other like specifics you wanted to talk about with his case?
I no, it's like I told you. I'd be happy to come on the show and talk to you. You didn't necessarily have to even be about DJ's case. I'd be happy to talk about other cases.
Yeah, we can talk about whatever cases. Did you have any in mind? Like, do you?
Um, well, there's another case that it has gotten a little bit of attention here
Mm-hmm.
in the last about I guess about the last year. It was on a big podcast. It's the Jessica Boynton's case in Georgia. I
Okay.
think it was an officer's wife is the podcast it was on.
Okay.
I
I
don't
don't
know if
think I heard of that one of the case.
okay. Well, I will just run it down for you.
Okay.
Jessica was married to a cop, and 911 was called from her husband that said she was locked in the closet from the inside, and he heard a gunshot. He heard two gunshots. So the police arrived and everything, and ambulance, and they take her to the hospital. GBI gets called in because, of course, it was an officer's wife that it happened to.
Yeah.
So GBI got called in to investigate. They ruled her death as a suicide, but she's not dead. She's still alive. And
Okay.
come to find out, she wasn't shot in the head. It was blunt force trauma to the head.
Okay. So the whole
So
story's a lie, basically.
they have GBI has her ruled as a suicide, but she's still alive. And because of her getting hit in the head, she doesn't remember what happened.
Okay.
So she can't say she says that she knows that she didn't do it to herself,
Mm-hmm.
but she can't say that, he did it.
Yeah.
So that's just another case that, infuriates me with GBI. And then, of course, you have the Ahmaud Aubrey case that's going on right now
Yep.
that just happened. You have the Kendrick Johnson case in Georgia that
Mm-hmm.
happened. There was another case that I'm friends with the mother of the victim. She just she hasn't went pub. It happened years ago, but never went publicly with it.
Okay.
And they had did um, a scope where they put the scope down your throat
Mm-hmm.
with a camera. They did that to her mom, a procedure on her mom at the hospital. And the next day she was complaining with her throat hurting. And they ended up doing x-rays and things like that. Well, come to find out, they left some kind of object in her throat
Oh.
during the procedure. So they had to go back in and do surgery on her the next day to remove the object. And then the next day, they sent her home. The next day, she was dead.
Jeez. That happened
And
fast.
yeah, and they sent her to GBI, and GBI said she died from an enlarged heart. And the family went with that. They had her funeral and everything. And I don't know how long it was after, but the daughter actually had her mom exhumed to have a second opinion done on another autopsy done.
Mm-hmm.
The medical examiner that did the second autopsy said that her heart was not enlarged, that what GBI had listed the size of her heart, that there was no way her heart was that size, it wouldn't have fit in her chest cavity. And also, the organs. I'm sure you know how an autopsy is performed. They remove the organs and
Yeah.
put them back in the stomach cavity.
Mm-hmm.
They said that the organs that was in her stomach cavity they didn't all belong to her.
That's really weird. I've never heard of that
Yeah.
happening, but
Well, in the Kendrick Johnson case, when his body got sent from GBI to the funeral home, he didn't have any organs in him at
yeah,
all.
it was newspaper.
Yeah, and the funeral home says that they received his body that way, where GBI says that when they sent him to the funeral home, his organs was in his body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, from personal experience, I'm going to believe the funeral home and say that they received his body with no organs inside of him.
Yeah, because GBI
Because
just hasn't been reliable.
exactly. I mean, I think it was last year, two employees at GBI was they didn't get fired. They were able to resign because um, there was an old man that he was murdered and he was decapitated,
Okay.
and two of the employees were passing this man's head around the office and taking selfies with it.
That's,
So
yeah.
that's how professional these
No,
people
that
are.
should have been, they should have been
They should have been
fired.
charged.
Yeah.
They should have been charged. That's what is it? Something with of a corpse.
Yeah.
It's desecration
Yeah.
of a corpse or something like that. But no, they were able to resign. So I thought that's crazy
Yeah,
too.
that's not professional at all.
No, but you can see I advocate for Abby and Libby.
Okay.
That's one of my big, cases that me and Kelsey are really good friends. We
Yeah.
talk. Usually, we try to stay in touch pretty often. Um, I talked to her just the other day. I'm going to try to start my own podcast on YouTube. I don't know. I may just use this because the way I'm wanting to do it, I'm wanting to be able to talk face to face with people
Okay.
and be involved with them. And I just don't see how I can do that on YouTube.
Yeah. This kind of like gives you the whole platform to get other people on there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't want to just do like true crime.
Yeah.
I want to work, be able to talk to people that are just suffering from depression or just need somebody to talk to, any kind of mental illness or anything. Because I know there's plenty of times that it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning where I need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, just one of those. It's one of those moments where I just don't think I'm going to get through it, and I would give anything to have somebody to talk
Yeah.
to.
I think that's a very good
But
idea.
I want to be there for people like that too. I mean, I'm not a counselor, licensed counselor or
Mm-hmm.
anything, but hey, I don't care who it is. If I need somebody to talk to, I need
Yeah.
them.
As long as they're caring and empathetic, I mean, it works the same.
Exactly. Exactly. And then of course, I'm an advocate for Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa, justice for Alyssa, justice for Jody. I mean, I advocate for everybody.
Yeah. That's good.
I mean, I try to be that a voice for everybody because they need a voice.
Yeah.
They don't have a voice anymore. So somebody has to be their voice.
Yeah. And you know that better than I do. You got that firsthand. So,
And I noticed that male victims don't get as much attention.
yeah.
They don't get as much media attention. They don't get as much, the people don't care as much about male victims.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Okay. Hey, Andy. I just noticed you. Sorry.
Okay. I'm back. There was just a weird noise in the background.
That's okay. I just noticed Andy was in the
Oh,
chat
yeah.
room here.
I'm very bad at looking at chats. So,
I just opened it. I just noticed it.
so in cases like the Kendrick Johnson one and like other GBI ones where the organs aren't kept in the body or like there's other organs, like you said, or something, what's your view on that? Like, why do you think they do that?
Well, now I know the reason that they remove the organs from the body during an
Yeah.
autopsy is to take samples of the organs. As far as returning them back to the body, I think it's just laziness.
Okay.
The reason I'll give an example. In DJ's autopsy, DJ didn't have a full autopsy. He had a what they call a limited autopsy, which basically they didn't cut him.
Okay.
They didn't cut him open or check anything like that. But in the state of Georgia, if it's a suspected suicide, by law, they have to have an autopsy done. So they do the bare minimum just to say, hey, we did an autopsy. But DJ's when we got DJ's when we did the open records request and got all the pictures, I'm sure you've seen this in the files that you
Mm-hmm.
were sent. The pictures are numbered,
Yeah.
like say 1, 2, 3, all the way, however many pictures
Mm-hmm.
are taken. Well, I would say there was a list of about 40 pictures, but only 7 of them were of DJ.
Supposedly,
It was
yeah.
like it was like 1 and 2 was DJ, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 was
Mm-hmm.
missing. 8 and 9 were DJ. 10 through 15 were missing, and then a couple. It was just like
Yeah.
back and forth, and so my private investigator reached out to GBI and asked them where the missing photos were at, and they replied back to him and told him that they were taking photos of 8 different bodies at the same time as they were taking them of DJ.
Yeah.
So to me, I just don't see that being very professional.
No. And even if for some reason they were doing pictures of multiple bodies at one time, you would think they would do like all of his at once and then move to the next one. But from how the pictures are laid out, it seems like they would do just randomly.
And it's almost like they treat them like an assembly
Mm-hmm.
line. Just, in and out as quick as possible, which I know that they have a backlog. They have a huge backlog of cases and bodies to get in and out. But have you ever heard of respecting the dead?
That's a big thing.
I mean, they're not an assembly line. And the thing with DJ's pictures were, I've not looked at the Cosby
Mm-hmm.
photos. I've, I've I've not looked at DJ's. I mean, I've looked at all of them that involve everything other than DJ. I refuse to look at DJ's
Yeah.
pictures. That would be the end. That would be the end of me. But I've had my husband's looked at them. My private investigator has looked at them, and he said there's two pictures of those 7 pictures. 2 of them are of DJ, and they're like pictures of a full. It's like a full body shot of DJ from like across the room.
Okay.
They're, they're not even up close photos of his
Yeah.
face, of the wound, or anything else. The rest of the pictures are like pictures of a couple of the pellets that were removed out of his head, um, a vial of blood where they took the blood sample. I mean, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean,
Yeah,
what's
that
the
seems
point?
really odd. Because, like, I don't know a ton about forensic anything, but I've taken a few, like, forensic classes. And generally, like, the main thing is document everything, like, thoroughly in case someone does have to go back and look at stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they obviously didn't do that, or if they did, they removed stuff from it.
And I don't. And see, that's the thing. We don't know if they're being
Mm-hmm.
honest about about the pictures. Not that they were taking other pictures. We don't know if that's true or if there's pictures actually
Yeah.
missing. Because of course you can't believe
Well,
anything they say.
either way, it is very unprofessional, no matter, like, what happened with the pictures.
Exactly. I see Sarah and Aaron
Oh,
have
yeah.
joined us.
I can open this if anyone else wants to jump in too.
Oh yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Let them jump in.
So you were saying you thought with the like the organs not being put back in, you just thought it was like laziness of the investigators at GBI? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just incompetence, laziness, not wanting to do their job, get them in and out as quick as
Yeah.
possible, cut corners anywhere they
Yeah. I
can.
feel like with that it'd be very easy to lose them, which is like it goes along with what you were saying about the wrong organs being in someone else's body. Because I
And I hated it after I said it, but I made the remark one day where I had said maybe that's where Kendrick Johnson's organs ended up, was in that other woman,
yeah.
since they were missing. I mean, it was kind of like a dark
Yeah.
humor joke, but I felt bad after saying it.
It
But it's
is. If they're mixing
possible.
up
You never
organs,
know.
any of it's possible.
Exactly. And
Hi.
Andy,
I just popped on to say hi and be here
thank
for
you.
support.
I also appreciate it.
I
Now, you had mentioned something when I talked to you the other day that you said that you wanted to bring up. Do you remember what that was?
I'm over 50, so give me a sec. Keep talking amongst yourselves and I'll try to reflect back to what I was thinking about.
Because I told you that would be a good thing
Yeah.
to bring up when we were live. And I don't remember what it was either. So I can't tell you what it was. And I'm not over 50, so I'm not even over 40 yet. And I have
You're
That's
so
okay.
children. So
young. I think I was going to ask, in light of the recent events that are coming up with, is it the Walker County coroner or that's being replaced, or do you have hope that there will be something moving forward, or at least something to start with, a new relationship with those in charge of being able to help you?
yeah. Well, I always have hope. I don't get my hopes up, but I always have hope. But yes, with the coroner currently in office, that has been in office for the last 23 years, not going to be on the ballot this year, and that we are going to have a new coroner. I'm hoping that we can set up a meeting and discuss it with him. and hopefully get a coroner's inquest done and get the ball rolling. Get something done. Get that manner of death changed.
Good.
Get the manner, and then of course, if we ever get the manner of death changed, I'm wanting the DA, the prosecutor, to recuse himself from this case, and I want it moved to a different county because I just don't feel like he would have his heart in it. I feel like he would be like, he's being forced into doing it. It's the way I feel. And I just don't think he would present it to a grand jury the proper way.
Okay. Give it the time and the research and okay.
Exactly. I mean, if you're forced into doing something, then you're not going to have your heart in it as much as if you're doing it because you know it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
And I know these people well enough to know how they work.
As little as possible until the next election.
Exactly. That's like, I've been trying to get a hold of the current coroner for 4 years, and emailed, phone calls, messages. Even the deputy coroner was telling him to call us, and he would never call us. But the funny thing is, I think it was February, he actually had the nerve to call me and tell me that he had not heard anything about DJ's case until he called me. And of course, I called him out real quick, and I told him it's funny that people all over the world have heard about DJ's case.
Yeah.
Yet this is the first time you're hearing about anything. But I think it was funny because it's an election year, and he just happened to call me.
Nothing coincidental about that in any way, shape, or form. That's something that yours was obviously the first case that really, really opened my eyes to what family members of murdered or missing loved ones really, truly deal with. And not all law enforcement agencies are like this, but, with Sarah's case and with yours, and I think Jenny Carrieri, it's really heartbreaking for those to watch and see how hard all of you have to fight every day, whether you feel like it or not, just to get the word out. And there's so many, you opened my eyes to this, of just how many people are out there trying to fight for such a small space of media coverage or for anybody willing to help. And it really is heartbreaking. And those of us who haven't experienced it, even though we can't maybe understand exactly what you're going through, the empathy and the compassion and the caring is there to want to help in whatever way we can. Whether it's to scream just as loud beside you or, call the DA's office. I had my daughters, when you had us call, I think it was the Attorney General's office. I had my daughter, she was so scared to call, she didn't know what to say. And it was eye-opening to me to see how intimidating it was to even get on the phone and talk to, his administrator or whatever. So kudos to you for stepping up and fighting for your brother. And, it's impressive.
I appreciate it. It's my brother.
Yeah.
It's the least I can do. I mean, if the roles were reversed and it had happened to me and it was my brother, he wouldn't even have went this far. He would have already went and got a gun and took care of it himself. So I'm trying to do it the right way. And, I mean, look where that gets you.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate you being there because you have been there for me a lot. Even if it's just, a phone call for me to rant and rave and cry and everything else. So I appreciate it. I mean, all of y'all have. Sarah's attorney's been there for me. Kelsey, Erin, God bless her heart. Erin's had to deal with me a lot. But I appreciate all of y'all. I mean, every podcast that covered DJ's case, I mean, everybody that's been there for me, I appreciate it so much. And as you can see, when calling the Attorney General's office, what did it get us? Their response was they would not be meeting with the family or the media on this case. They won't even meet with Nancy Grace. That's where the media part came in, because Nancy Grace was going to go meet with them and they said they would not be meeting with the family or.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. The last I had heard was that with COVID and everything was kind of slowed down. So that is.
No, they told us this. It was last
Oh,
year.
okay. Okay.
I have the email from the secretary. A matter of fact, I ought to release that email from the secretary, from the attorney general. But yeah, this I'm thinking it was about. It was right after we were calling. It was about 2 weeks after everybody was calling that was their response. So it's been a while. But yeah, they wanted to go away.
I didn't mean to take over. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh, fine.
Have you set up your YouTube channel? Are you planning to do anything like that, or?
Well, I was telling her that I've got the YouTube channel and it's all up and ready to go. I got on the laptop the other day and oh my God, that was awful. Awful experience. I don't use my laptop anymore. I always do just a smartphone because I'm afraid the laptop will crash again like my last one did. But so it's like an unknown territory. But the way I'm wanting to do it is to interact with people like we are on this. I'm thinking about just using the Get Vocal app because you can stream it to YouTube. So I think I want to do that. And then that way I can interact with people and they can jump on and talk to me and I can be there for them and vice versa, you know. So I'm hoping that I can get some subscribers.
It's a great platform.
Well. Yeah, it is. And just to let everybody know, if anybody else is watching this on YouTube right now, if they're commenting on YouTube, I can't see the comments right now. I can only see it Get Vocal app. So for them, I don't want them to think.
Yeah, it's also on Facebook and Periscope streaming right now, but sadly we can't see any of that. But yeah.
Right. So don't think we're ignoring you.
Yeah, once we see it.
Back later.
The other good thing about Get Vocal is that, like, if you do the, like, chatting with people on here, then you can download the video after and post it to YouTube. So, like, if people want to go back and watch it.
How long does it stay available for you to do that? Could she use it as a resource, you know, down the road and as part of her, not resume, but all of the list of everything that you have, of all the podcasts and shows that have done things on DJ's case? Is that something that you could link and it would stay permanent, or is it temporary?
You mean like the recorded stuff on Get Vocal? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not sure. I've only been this is like my 4th week on here because it's a new platform, but I think they just stay. From what I understood in like the meeting, they just stay recorded on here.
Okay.
So they won't disappear.
Good.
No. And even if it did disappear, once you shared it to YouTube, it would still be on YouTube.
Yeah, so it won't disappear completely either way.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'm going to kick off video.
Okay.
And just sit back and watch.
Well, thank you for popping on.
Absolutely.
So, no, go ahead.
So, go ahead. What have you got going on right now as far as the cases you're covering?
Next week, I am, 2 weeks, I guess, I'm going to be having an episode on the Diane Francis case. I know Erin's covered that, if you've heard her podcasts on that. Yeah. And that, from what I watched or heard last week from her daughter, and Erin was talking about it too, it seems like a really interesting and just pretty much confusing case because no one really looked for her. And I find that really odd.
It's people want to say the word sad a lot. I've noticed that in these cases. It's really sad. It's not sad. It's not sad. It's infuriating and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's no reason.
I don't understand how people just disappear and then no one, like, even if they'll notice and then they won't look for them. Right. That's just mind-boggling to me. but it happens a lot, I guess.
Right. Yeah. All this stuff happens a lot. It happens more than anybody can imagine. It's just because it's happening to anyone they know, they're oblivious to it. And I understand that because I always grew up knowing that there was good cops and bad cops and there was evil in the world and, things happen. I've seen it, I heard about it, but until it happened to my brother, I didn't realize how often it happened. Once it happened to DJ and I started getting, because I got on that phone and started researching and everything. I'm like,
I'm still surprised by it. And like when you go into one case, you go into a rabbit hole, and then there's 40 other cases like it from the same area, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you get on Pinterest.
Yeah, something totally different.
And you end up doing something completely different. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and the very first case I actually ever come across is because I was researching cases that were similar to DJ's, and the one that I pulled up was the Christian.
I know who you're talking about. I can't pronounce it either, but
I'm not even going to try. But Justice for Christian, everybody knows who I'm talking about. Culpable for them. And I found his case, and as soon as I've seen it on the True Crime Daily, and it's, when they pull the picture up of the person talking, it has their name under there, and I seen Christian's mom's name, Ray. Ray. So I was like, okay, I'm going to search for her, and I got on Facebook and I searched her, and there she was. Our friend requested her, and we've been friends ever since. This was 2017. So we've been friends ever since. We've been a big support for each other. We've been there for each other. Of course, she lost her son. It was my brother. So her pain is completely different than mine, and vice versa. But we've always we've tried to be there for each other and help each other. I mean, if somebody covers DJ's case, I'll ask them, do you mind covering Christian's case? Because I wanted Christian's case out there, his story out there, because it's like the same story, only different characters in the story. I mean, if I don't know if everybody's listened to the podcast or even just watched the True Crime Daily show about it, it's the same story. A guy, his girlfriend and a guy was in the apartment with him. They call it in as a suicide. There's no possible way it was a suicide. And nothing's ever been done.
Yeah, that's sad. A lot of people who don't look into this stuff don't understand like how that can happen. They're like, well, if it's a suicide, they'll know. If it's a murder, they'll know. But the fact is, a lot of people choose to ignore the signs towards one or the other.
And see, that's like in DJ's case. The medical examiner is not a detective. She's a medical examiner. She is supposed to say, okay, he died of a heart attack. He died of, a gunshot wound. He died of a stroke, whatever, a strangulation. She's putting herself in the role as a medical examiner and a detective because she's trying to say DJ died of a gunshot wound, which is obvious, but she's also trying to say how he died of that.
Yeah, and that's not their place.
And
no,
that's not her place to do that because you have the detectives at the Washington County Sheriff's Department saying this was a homicide, but because she said it's a suicide, the DA is not going to do anything else about it. So she's overstepping.
I heard
her boundaries.
In the file you gave me was the call between the PI and the medical examiner, I believe. I think. And he just seemed so confused by like what she was saying because what she was saying didn't make sense.
He was like, yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
listen to that recording so often. I mean, I have every recording on DJ's
Mm-hmm.
case memorized word for word, and I have 10 plus hours of recording and audio. But it's like he's dumbfounded. He's in shock.
Yeah,
He doesn't know how to
because it doesn't make
respond to
sense.
what she's told him. And yeah, because I'm listening to it and I'm like, well, why didn't he ask this? And why didn't he ask that? But then I'm thinking
Yeah.
to myself, he didn't know what to say because he presented her with all the
Mm-hmm.
evidence that she didn't originally have. And even after he presented her with everything, she's going to come back and say that it was still consistent with a suicide
That I
because he
didn't
had
understand
stimulants in the
either.
system. Yeah, because if he had had depressants in his system, then it would be consistent with a suicide because people that are depressed
Yeah. And then
are
he
usually the ones
asked,
that commit
like, is
suicide.
it possible he was asleep during this? And she said no, because there was stimulants, not depressants. But
And that was also a lie because there was depressants
okay.
in his
So yeah,
system.
they
He
could
had
have,
marijuana in his
like,
system.
he wasn't asleep, obviously, but it
They
could
counter
have been something like that. Yeah.
right. And even if he didn't have depressants in his system, and even if he did have stimulants in his
No, that's
system. Hold
okay.
on a second. My lab is digging in the floor. Stop. Stop. He digs in the carpet like
Yeah, so
he
does my
thinks he's gonna
bunny.
go somewhere. But well, it was a bunny. Bunny dig. Quit! You're not getting nothing out from under the carpet. But yeah, I mean it. It was like she just would come up with any theory possible, to make
Yeah.
her theory logical, and
Yeah.
it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I even today when I listen to it, it pisses me off.
I
I
get
just want to
that.
throat
The
punch
first time I heard it, it was just so ridiculous.
her. And see, the toxicology report wasn't done until after my private investigator met with her. It was a year later. He met with her. He presented her with all of the evidence, and she told him, "Okay, we will run a toxicology report,
Mm-hmm.
and we will review the case." They didn't need to do a toxicology report. Everybody knew DJ
Mm-hmm.
was going to have methamphetamines in his system, so that was a waste of taxpayers' money. But when the toxicology report came back that he had stimulants in the system, that was
Yeah.
it. They
So
didn't
they came
review
to the
any more of the
conclusion, like
case.
the first conclusion, that it was suicide without even noticing like the stimulants or depressants in a system. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't do it. I mean, they took the
Okay,
blood
so
sample, but they never
they just
sent it
went off
off
of
until
like witness
a year
testimony
later.
and
No, they went off of what the
okay.
coroner told them happened. The the coroner sent DJ down there with the information that I mean, I have the sheet that
Mm-hmm.
was sent to GBI with DJ's body from the coroner. It says that there was a witness that saw DJ shoot
Mm-hmm.
himself, which was the person of interest, and that the gun was removed out of DJ's
Which isn't
hand
true.
by the first responding officer.
Yeah, because you hear it on the
Which
911
everybody
call.
knows that's a lie because right, and plus in the investigation report, it's documented by the first responding officer that when he got there, he asked the person of interest where the gun was located, and he said that it's on the
Mm-hmm.
shelf next to DJ's body, and that he went in and he took it outside and put it on the table. So it's
Yeah.
documented that the gun was never in DJ's hand. But that's the only information that she was given, and that's what she based her,
So I could believe how the first
based her
one,
ruling off of.
she called it a suicide. Yeah.
Yeah, I think right from the information she was sent, I can get where
Yeah.
why she said it was a suicide because you have a witness that's seen him shoot himself, and the gun was removed out of his hand. Okay, yeah, it's a suicide. But then when you're presented with everything else, even a recording of the detective saying this was not a suicide.
Yeah, I don't know how you decide against an overwhelming amount of evidence, but
yeah, because there were six people in that house when DJ got shot, and 2 of them seen what happened. One of them did it, and then the other one heard what happened. So you have numerous witnesses to what happened, and you're still going to say suicide.
That doesn't make sense.
And I know why they're doing it. They don't. It does. I used to say that it's because they don't want their credibility questioned, but I've already ruined that for them. Well, they ruined it for themselves. I've just exposed it. But I think they want to keep it covered up now because they're worried about opening up a huge lawsuit. Because if they change it and admit that they made a mistake or an error.
Yeah, and then so many other cases will come to light too. Yeah.
Will be exactly. And 3 years ago, I would not have questioned the lawsuit. It didn't even cross my mind. I didn't want to sue anybody because I thought to myself, I don't want to make a profit off my brother's death, because to me that's what it feels like. It feels like I would be making a profit off of my brother's death. But that was 3 years ago, when they could have easily said, "Oh, we made a mistake. We're going to do the right thing." After they had put my family through hell for 4 years now.
Yeah, and I think I
would sue them in a heartbeat. And not for me, but for his 3 kids. Because his 3 kids aren't going to have their father in their life. Their whole life, not going to be there. So at least that they would have the financial help, to be able to do whatever they wanted to do, go to college, to be able to buy them their car, because, the twins, these kids are so close in age. You have Peyton and Paisley, the twins that are 5. They'll be 5 next month. And then Jack turned 6 in March. So they're only a year apart in age. So it's going to be, everything's going to be back to back. We're going to be buying a car for all of them around the same time. We're going to be to go take them all to the prom at the same time. I mean, all this expensive stuff, graduation. I mean, everything's going to happen all at the same time. So they need this. I mean, they're well taken care of. Don't get me wrong. It will be put up for them when they're old enough and responsible enough, to do what they need to do.
They do. That's the least GBI could do at this point.
That. I do. I agree with that. I agree. I think that's the least that they could do, for the simple fact that if the kids were to look at the death certificate 10 years from now, if nothing changes, it's going to say that their daddy chose to take his life away from them.
Yeah. At least, like, having you around and everyone else who knows it wasn't a suicide, that'll help them, even if it doesn't change.
Yes. And that's another reason I'm so grateful for everyone that's covered DJ's case, and everything, the podcasters and everything. Because in 10 years, if nothing happens, in 10 years, those kids can get online and put their daddy's name in Google, and it's going to pull up every single podcast and news article and, showing what really happened and showing the truth. And it's going to show that he didn't kill himself.
No, absolutely not.
But that's still not justice. It's still not justice. You still have a killer out there that took the life of somebody willingly and intentionally.
That brings me to another point of the file you gave everyone. The videos of the suspect being interviewed. I was talking with the host of Murder Mafia, like 2 weeks ago, I think. And he mentioned that like in the video, the guy couldn't even like figure out how he had been holding the gun or anything. Like he couldn't recreate it. And so I had to rewatch it. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, he has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah. The polygraph, he did that. He did the reenactment for the polygraph examiner. And in the paperwork, the polygraph examiner said that, you know, deception was indicated and he failed the polygraph test and he failed the reenactment of the shooting. Because the way he reenacts the shooting, when, you know, when he's tugging on the gun, supposedly, and whatever.
Yeah,
he says,
and there's no way that could have happened.
And then the gun goes boom.
Yeah, and it was,
That's an upward angle. DJ was shot that way, down. You know. DJ was shot, now that I'm here, DJ was shot right here in the corner of the lips. Like right there at the corner. And his exit wound.
So obviously not the same at all.
Right back here. Okay. Right. It was. I don't know if you've seen the picture that I posted of me recreating the angle of. I mean, it's perfect because he's sitting in the love seat texting my mom and cousin and everybody else. And there's a door right here behind him that the person comes out of and says something to DJ. Well, common sense is going to tell you if somebody walks out of a room and says, I'll kill you, you motherfucker, or whatever he said, you're gonna look up at them, you know? Common sense. And that would perfectly describe the angle.
Yeah, I'll never understand how they interpreted any of this or how they just completely lied about all this.
And it's because, and that's like, I've been trying for almost a year now to get the sheriff to meet with us or talk to us. We want to pay out of pocket to have the gun tested, processed, and printed for, you know, for fingerprints.
That's awful.
He won't respond to us. He ignores us. They don't, in the DA's letter, it says, in the unlikely event that any new evidence comes to light, you know, that they would proceed or whatever.
Yeah, because then they don't have to do anything.
Any new evidence. Because right, and then it's going to prove that they screwed up. Because they said that they didn't test the gun for fingerprints because the suspect admitted to touching the gun. I get that. I get it. His fingerprints are going to be on the gun. But why didn't you test the gun?
Because they'd definitely be on there then.
You want to say
like on the trigger area, not just the top of the gun.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think these.
Yeah, that would definitely give them some more evidence, I guess.
We've talked it out, me and Eric, the private investigator, and I told him, I was like, you know, well, what if the suspect had enough sense after he shot DJ to put DJ's hand on the gun to, you know, put DJ's fingerprints on the gun? And he said, which I don't think he was smart enough to do that, but Eric told me, he was like, he may have had enough sense to do that, but the thing about it is he wouldn't have had enough sense to have put DJ's prints on the gun where they needed to be,
because they really couldn't have been there.
That angle
like,
of a shot.
In general, yeah.
Right. So I honestly, because the whole struggling over the gun, wrestling over the gun, it never happened. That was just one of his stories, one of his many lies. That story actually came out. He came up with that story when he found out that he was getting sent to GBI for an autopsy. That's when he came up with that story about wrestling over.
So that could have been done to
and fighting over it.
Make sure he had his bases covered or something.
Exactly. Because his original story was.
Hold on one second.
I think. He was outside and he had the gun. Okay. We all have animal issues here.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. I said we all have animal issues. I was watching you and Aaron the other week, and I see
They're
your
a
cat
mess,
jump up
but
on the shelf
that's
and knock
okay.
the vase over. Oh yeah, that's what they're for. Simone, I need you to type out, if you're still listening, I need you to put in the chat room the case of the girl you were talking about the other night from Chattanooga. I wanted to look up that case from Chattanooga, Tennessee, because I'm about 20 minutes from Chattanooga and I wanted to look into that case. I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, you were telling me what his original story was. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The first thing that he told him was that he was outside and he heard the gun go off. He ran inside and DJ was sitting there shot with the gun. Then the second story was he was in the back bedroom on the opposite end of the trailer, and that he heard the gun go off and he ran in there and seen DJ with the gun. So, and then the third story was they were wrestling over the gun and the gun went off. And then the fourth story was they were wrestling over the gun and Brandy grabbed his arm and jerked it and made it go off. And so, yeah. Hey, Simone, I don't know if you heard me or not. The case you were talking about the other day that happened in Chattanooga, Tennessee, can you type that name out into the chat room? I want to look that up. I meant to message you and ask you, but I don't remember anything, so I forgot. Yes, that was it. Thank you. I'm going to look into that because I'm only like 20 minutes away from Chattanooga, and I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
I was watching her live stream the other night, and she was talking about.
I don't think
of her talking about it.
I don't think I got to look at her live stream last week, but I'll probably look up that case too if it's infuriating. Yeah, that's true.
They usually all are.
Mm-hmm.
But the deeper you get into it, the more infuriating it gets.
With all the cases. So I have one last question about DJ's case, then I'll let you go. But in the 911 call, he says he moved the gun and then she tells him to move it again. But at some point in there or something, he says it was a one-shot shotgun, or it's written in paper somewhere. So, yeah. So if it was his gun,
single shot shotgun,
why would he move it? Just to get rid of evidence, or was he just confused?
To cover. It was his gun. All the people there, the 6 people, plus the other 2 people that lived there that wasn't there at the time it happened, they all said that the gun belonged to the suspect. That he was caught with it. He actually shot it off in the ground, trying to intimidate DJ and Brandy with it just a couple of days before. So it was kept in his camper, on the property, in his possession. But he was saying that to cover his tracks,
because he had to move it.
His fingerprints would be on the gun. Right, because he says that I picked the gun up to see what it was, and it's a 12 gauge.
Yeah, and that was way after the fact of them asking what kind of gun it was.
Right, and even. They need to know because they need to know what kind of damage, it's going to be, or if it's life threatening, because you can shoot yourself and live through it. But but for him to say that he picked the gun up to see what kind of gun it
Mm-hmm.
was, what difference does it make to him what kind of gun it
Yeah.
was? Even though he knew what kind of gun it was his gun. But yeah, and he also knew it was
Yeah.
a single
So he didn't have
shot,
to
which
secure
means
it.
that it wouldn't have had any more bullets in it, or it couldn't go off. Exactly.
Yeah. Because
But yeah,
if it
it's
had in fact
infuriating.
like been a suicide or something like he was saying, common sense would tell you like don't touch whatever is in the crime scene area. But yeah, that just confused me.
Exactly. And he also
Mm-hmm.
they also asked him where the gun is now, and he says it's in the chair with him.
A little bit, not a
I,
lot.
I don't know if you know anything about guns or not, but if you shoot a shotgun,
No, it's gonna go
it's
at least
not
back a
going to just
little.
fall
Yeah.
into your lap. It's going to fling across the room. It's not going to just nicely fall into your lap and lay
Mm-hmm.
there. If you shoot yourself with a shotgun, it's going to fly across the room. And that's another point that I've been trying to make. If you're going to shoot yourself, commit
Yeah.
suicide, you're going to shoot yourself to where it's going to kill you,
Mm-hmm.
which would be under the
Yeah,
neck,
not.
under the chin, in the mouth. You're going to go upward. And with DJ, it was downward. So if DJ was going to shoot himself, he would have shot himself upward.
Mm-hmm.
Downward, you're looking at being a vegetable your whole life, living through it, being a vegetable. Um, and DJ wasn't the type of person that would, want to feel like he was, you know, what is the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Having, to depend on other people to take care of him and stuff. He wouldn't have to feel like that. So, yeah, I mean, and that's DJ wasn't depressed. Him and Brandy
Yeah.
got back together the day before. He was as happy as could be. He won her over
It
again.
really is.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with the new
It's
medical
infuriating.
examiner
It pisses me
or
off to no end.
coroner, I forgot what you said was the new election coming up this. Okay.
It's a coroner. So, I don't know if
Okay.
it works the same way up there, but in the South you have county coroners, and they have no medical background usually whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that are like actual mechanics, car mechanics, and stuff like that. And then you have medical examiners, which work at the state crime lab. But basically down here they're all the same. The medical examiners and the
Yeah,
coroners have
that's
about the
crazy
same
to me. I feel
intelligence.
like
So
they should all at least have like a basic medical degree.
yeah, and I wanted, and after this election in November, I'm going to start trying to get in contact with senators and
Yeah,
state
they need to
legislators and
be.
everything, and I want to start getting some laws passed and changed, and that's one, yeah, and that's one thing that I want done is I
Yeah,
want
that
coroners
just makes
to have some
logical
kind of
sense.
medical training at least. And then another thing too is
Okay.
the gunshot residue test on DJ wasn't done, and it's not she said it's not protocol. It's not typically done unless it's requested.
Mm-hmm.
I think if a family is questioning a gunshot suicide,
Yeah, it definitely
I
should
think
be.
it should be done, and I think it should be protocol that it's done. So that's another thing I want to get
Yeah.
done. I mean, there's a lot of laws and things that I want to get changed and done. I just have to get with the right people, and with it being an election
Yeah.
year, I want to wait until everybody gets
Yeah.
where
Well, you
they're
got a
going to
lot of
be
people behind
before I
you in
start
the
working on
true crime
that.
community
So
too, so that's good because we don't mind bugging congressmen and senators. So
right. Well, I was just actually checking into the FBI, which
mm-hmm.
we've tried to get the FBI on it, involved in it before, but they said unless someone from the inside requests them to come in, that they wouldn't get involved, or unless you could prove corruption, they wouldn't get involved. So there's a thing called color of law through the FBI, and I think DJ actually may fall under that category because it has to do with like covering up things, you know, covering up evidence, enforcing what is it?
Yeah.
Like police brutality, negligence, everything. It basically
Yeah,
falls
that'd be a good
under
idea.
that law. So I'm going to check into that and start researching that too. And hopefully, if we can get enough people to reach out to the FBI, we should get the FBI on this. That would just be amazing, because not only would DJ get his justice, but all the corrupted people in Georgia would get shut down. They would get fired.
That's what needs to happen for sure.
Some of them would probably even have criminal charges on them. So, oh yeah, a lot of them. See, the thing about it is, if it's an elected official, if there's like a lawsuit or anything, you can't like get them fired because they're an elected official, which I don't think's right. But as far as like the medical examiner, she's not an elected official. She was hired in, so she could lose her job. She could lose her, you know, her degree, or not her degree, her license to practice. And I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't.
Make her get an actual
her.
degree for what she's doing.
Make her go back to medical school. Yeah, because I know that she had got hired at the GBI 8 months before DJ got killed, and that's when she got her, you know, license to practice and everything as a forensic pathologist. She was fresh out of, you know, the schooling, and she specialized in fetal development.
Okay.
Like pediatric, like a baby in the womb still. So DJ's case was probably the first case that she ever had come across her like that. So yeah, I think she needs some more training, and
that should definitely become a requirement across the board.
Definitely.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I will let
you
go.
too. That we finally got to talk face to face
on here, and it was a good talk.
I will.
I am too.
And
I may have you, if I ever get this up and running.
Let me know if you have any questions. I'm not too great at technology, but I think I have this with the YouTube down, so I might be able to help you with that part.
I think I have it. I think I already have it linked
to
where it'll stream to YouTube and Facebook already. I think I have it set up. I could be wrong. It says it's linked, but
when I went to the original meeting, they mentioned something on that, but maybe it's just going to take a little bit, because that is a little more difficult, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to manually share it to Twitter.
Yeah.
And I don't even think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check at some point.
It's just the link to go.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, you too.
All right. Well, it was good talking to you.
Bye.
Thanks for having me on. Have a good night. All right. Bye-bye.